Hi, fifth grade. Thanks for joining me again. Today we are going over lesson 88 of grammar. You need your grammar book, you need something to write with, and you need to have looked over the lesson explanation on Jupiter. We're starting on page 469 with our vocabulary. Our first vocabulary word today is complacent. Complacent means content and self-satisfied. After scoring 2 goals, Dagny became complacent and did not try as hard during the rest of the soccer game. From complacent, we get complacency. Complacency is contentment and self-satisfaction. Because of her complacency, Dagny did not score any more goals in the soccer game. So, today we're going to talk about the exclamation mark and the question mark. So almost every sentence ends with either a period, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. We call these end punctuation because they come at the end of sentences. An exclamation mark is used at the end of an exclamatory sentence, a sentence that shows strong emotion. We can also use an exclamation mark at the end of words or phrases that stand alone to show strong emotion. We call these interjections. So we want to be careful when we use exclamation marks. Exclamation marks are like shouting, and if you overuse them, they lose their effect. And as we have discussed before, using more than one at the end of a sentence does not make your sentence have more impact. It just makes it look like you don't know how to use grammar. So we only use one type of end punctuation at the end of a sentence. And if you feel that you need more than one exclamation point, you need to change the words you're using to have them have more impact. But we should be careful and judicious how we use our exclamation points. Otherwise, it always sounds like we're shouting, which is totally unnecessary. Question marks come at the end of interrogative sentences, sentences that ask questions. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. We do need to remember that not all sentences that contain a questioning phrase are interrogative sentences. So you should look at the example on page 469. I wonder what the collie's name is. So that is a sentence that contains a question in it, but it's not an interrogative sentence. So we would not put a question mark at the end of that. When we're using quotation marks and our end punctuation is either an exclamation point or a question mark, we need to decide whether the end punctuation goes inside the quotation marks or outside of the quotation marks. When our sentence ends with a period, it's very rare that the period will go outside of the quotation marks. But especially for questions, we have to decide if what is within the quotation marks is a question, and if it is, then we put the question mark inside of the quotation marks. So on page 470, you have 2 examples. Your first one says, someone asked, "Where have you been?" So in that example, "where have you been," which is the direct quotation and therefore is what's contained in the quotation marks, that in itself is an interrogative sentence. So the end punctuation goes inside the quotation marks. If what is in the quotation marks is not what requires the interrogative, what requires the question mark, if what's inside the quotation marks isn't an interrogative sentence, then, but the whole sentence itself is, the question mark goes on the outside. So look at the second example. Have they sung America? So America is the title of a song, and that's in quotation marks. That's not the whole thing, have they sung America, is an interrogative sentence. What's within the quotation marks is not an interrogative sentence. So the the question mark is punctuating the entire sentence, not just what's in the quotation marks. So it needs to go on the outside of the quotation marks. That might be a little bit confusing, but I think you have some good examples in your book, and with practice, it will become easier. So let's look at our practice. We're going to rewrite some sentences with exclamation points and quotation marks. We're going to do some end punctuation. So A says, wow, that sunset is spectacular. So we have two pieces that need quotation marks, not quotation marks. We have two pieces that need exclamation points. Wow is an interjection. It's just a word that shows a strong emotion and it stands alone on its own. So wow, quote, exclamation point. That sunset is spectacular, exclamation point. Sentence B, do you understand Greek, is an interrogative sentence. So we need a question mark. Do you understand Greek? Sentence C, who painted Blue Boy, is also an interrogative sentence. So the end punctuation we need is a question mark. Now, if you guys will notice, in your book, Blue Boy is in italics. I can't handwrite in italics, so I underlined the title of the painting instead. And our last sentence is, I know, it's Thomas Gainsborough. So we have the interjection, I know, which requires an exclamation point. And we have the sentence, it's Thomas Gainsborough, which we're going to say with great emotion. So it requires an exclamation point too. So those are what my sentences should look like. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. I'll see you guys here later for more grammar. Have a great day.